Welcome to the Inner Space Covent Garden talk. Our talk today is being real and authentic. Do you find your words, actions, and decisions match your core values? Do you know who you really are beneath the expectations, roles, routines? Is it possible to be consistently and fearlessly authentic? Or do we adapt ourselves down to make others comfortable or shrink ourselves to fit in? Be real and authentic and you'll build trust. Excuse me. Apologies. Be real and authentic and you'll build trust both within and with others. Create meaningful connections and feel more relaxed. So we've asked our speaker to share his insights on how to let go of the masks and be our real authentic selves. Our speaker, Jim Ryan, has worked in education as a headmaster, as a super headmaster, as well as human resource training. Jim shares from over 30 years of personal research, experience, teaching. He's also an author of 6 books on philosophy and meditation. Jim's going to be sharing with us for the next 40 minutes or so, and after that, he's going to take us through a guided meditation. The idea of a meditation is to take what you've been hearing and allow it to sink further into your consciousness, hopefully as an experience and as a result, a tool that you can take into your life almost immediately. After that, we'll take any questions that you would like to send. So please send in your questions via the question and answer link or the chat, and it will be our pleasure to put those questions to Jim on your behalf. Jim, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Artie. Okay. I think I'm on screen. So, hello, everybody. Nice to be with you. And I hope we have a nice little chat. It's a very interesting topic. I'd like to start with a little story. And there was a lady, and she had a bad turn. She had a heart attack, and she left her body. And she found herself in a few moments in front of the great angels who deal with people when they leave the body. And there she was in line, and then she shuffled up, went in front of the angels, and they looked at her book and it says, "Oh dear, no, you shouldn't be here. This is a mistake. No, you're not due yet. No, you've got another 30 more years before you come again to us. No, you'll have to go back. I'm sorry." So she was sent back, and she ended back. And when she sort of woke up, she recovered, and she thought, 30 years. Wow, 30 years. I've got 30 more years. I'm going to really enjoy myself. I'm going to do everything that I didn't do before. And I know I'm going to do. And first thing she did, she went to a plastic surgery place, and she changed her nose, her ears, her mouth, her hair, everything. Complete renovation job. And she came out and she went down the steps, and immediately she was knocked over by a tractor and killed. A dramatic story. And then she found herself again facing the angels, and they said, "Oh, you're back." But she said to the angels, as they kind of looked at her quizzically, and she said, well, it's strange. Yeah, you shouldn't be here, but we just didn't recognize you. So she wasn't recognized. She wasn't real. And so I think being real is a buzzword today. It's meaning, genuine, not artificial, uh, being yourself in that particular way. I think there appears to be many types of reality today. It's interesting. Uh, each person has their own criteria or norms which they've interpreted and believe as real. These are then the basis of many forms and attitudes they use to meet and interact with circumstances, and they adapt them to meet the circumstances of the people around them in those situations. And in that, believing that each scene and interaction demands a particular response. So the person adopts and adapts and develops a behavior, uh, an attitude, a personality to match, generally in that complicated way. However, another person operating from another belief position wouldn't recognize this and feels, well, it's unacceptable, like in the story of the angels. They just didn't recognize it. They don't, not seeing it as real. And and so they reject it, believing it to be false and not real. Then in response to this, the other person picks this up and tries to create a form they will accept, and vice versa, and it goes on. So we see a dance, a game of interchanging masks and roles, with the inevitable, of course, mismatching and breakdown in communication relationships. So we see our world today. Now, there's another little twist or change in this kind of interactive drama. What happens is that a form that a person is doing that they pick upon is, say, for example, uh, one person may be adopting a particular form. And they may be enjoying it, say that particular form because it's enjoyable, prestigious, or it's probably effective. This may be a mask or a face, and what they do is they then they keep that, they decide to keep using that form or that mask or that face, um, uh, keep playing it, so they hold it and they use it more and more, even though it doesn't fit or it's appropriate to that particular interaction. Now, others recognizing this react and reject what's going on, which brings with it, say, confusion, arguments, and other reactive behaviors, with both, of course, believing they're real and they're in the right. And we obviously come to sort of an impasse where both no, well, none are really happy with the other, to put it mildly. In a way, that's maybe we can see the effect of what we're happening today. But you might well be asking then, what about those who are deliberately untruthful, artificial, and not honest in their dealings? I was thinking about this, and I believe this behavior is in line with their conscious or semi-conscious beliefs, thinking it's okay to perform like this in this way because it will help achieve and reach what they want or they deem as their goal or their truth. Now, okay, some of you might find it hard to agree with this interpretation, but it seems that I think there can never be a unified and universally acceptable attitude and approach to life at this level. Due to the incredibly diverse philosophies, beliefs, and attitudes that are in place. However, spirituality enables us to remedy, to solve this kind of chaos of relationships and of different forms and different approaches to interactive life by teaching and showing us that the actions roles and scenes um, can be based on one reality, one truth, stating that it is the soul which is the energy, the consciousness um, that drives and determines all actions and all acts. And then in that way, the reality or the truth will manifest in a very powerful, very, oh, I've got someone saying they can't hear me. Okay, I'll try and speak up, shall I? The actor's self-aware of its own self as a spiritual being acts then and reacts naturally. And then in that particular way, because it's framing all its interactions with its natural nature of its inequalities and virtues. There is then no need, because of this, to perform as before with artificial masks and faces. In this soul conscious, soul aware stance, others then encountering this particular behavior of spiritual truth or reality will experience a feeling of authenticity, behavioral reality, triggering in them a recognition of honesty and truth. And that's interesting that physics, switching completely the angle, talks of quantum entanglement, but this is spiritual entanglement. A focused spiritual energy can trigger immediately a spontaneous and identical reactive state within another person, almost immediately, and emerging it from the other person's own spiritual center. Quite interesting. And so this unifying and connecting state will create amicable understandings and agreements, and things start to move in a very harmonic way, in a much more easier way in that particular stance. So in the great drama that we find in his life, what can happen is that there comes a time, I think, when the soul forgets the reality of itself and as a spiritual being, as mentioned, the glamour, the allure, the pull of the material world becomes so strong that the soul believes and accepts it is the part that it's playing. There's a story, a very famous story of a guy that found an eagle's egg, and he didn't know what to do with the eagle's egg. So he put it with the chickens, as you would do. And after a while, the egg hatched, and out popped the eagle. And he lived with the chickens. He did all the things that the chickens did. He scratched the ground, grubbed around, flapped its wings, jumped a few feet above the ground, and so lived among all the chickens. Then after a period of time, the eagle noticed in the sky a very beautiful being in the sky, and he said to one of the other chickens, he said, "Who's that beautiful being? Who's that beautiful thing in the sky?" And one of the other chickens said, "Ah, that's the eagle. He's the king of the birds. That's his kingdom there in the sky. Ours is here of the earth. We're chickens." So the poor old eagle lived and died as a chicken because that's who he thought he was. So in the same way, that we are who we see we are, who we're told we are, who we're informed we are, and we believe and accept that in a way. And that frames our consciousness, and that's what's been framing our consciousness and our attitude and our approach to life. So from this kind of point onwards, everything changes from this kind of change in consciousness. The soul forgets its, say, spiritual nature its qualities, its origins, its subtle consciousness is all forgotten and soon becomes subject to the vagaries, the fluctuations, and limitations of the world around. Then everything that follows, I think, even if the intention is well-meaning and is not coming from a position of truth, will not be authentic and will not have the appropriate, I think, intended effect. And even worse, then what happens is that the actions that they go on to, and will, as a result of that, create many complications and increase in negativity. As a result of that basis, if we take a kind of wider perspective, viewing the systems and structures of our world, most, if not all, are formed, framed, and developed from the belief and stance of material consciousness. So, referring to our definition of what spiritual truth is based on, I think it would be fair to say that all rules, laws, and systems that are in place in every society, in every country, as they have not been established on the truth of spirituality, wait for it, the big one, are invalid and inauthentic. It's a shocking thought, isn't it? That everything is based upon that. This untruth are invalid. And you might say, well, okay, what of the religions and the belief systems that scatter our globe? Their ideas and, of course, their teachings may be beneficial and conducive to goodwill and well-being, but they too, coming from the same position as our laws and regulations, have also been filtered and rooted in the worlds of through the worlds of form and matter. Their messages, as a result, and effects are correspondingly diluted, weakened, and I think now subject to, some scrutiny, some questioning. It's quite interesting, isn't it, in that particular way? I think, interestingly, just switching back to maybe a definition of what reality is, the word real is derived from the Latin royal, or rex, meaning king. And so it's meaning that one who is altruistic and benevolent, who nourishes, supports, cooperates, say a ruler then, a ruler, but on a spiritual level, ruler of the senses, and interpersonal nature. Yet, unfortunately, I think what we can say is that our spiritual state has been affected, yet material consciousness has deprived us of this particular royalty, this particular nature of control. And our qualities and powers have dissipated, have gone below the surface of awareness. And it's led us into a kind of, I believe, a cul-de-sac, a prison, an artificial, inauthentic world of limited and a limited world of little or no experience. I think being real for me is having the awareness, the acceptance of ourselves as a soul, a being of spiritual eternal light. It's about living your life through that consciousness. And with that, you won't need to learn strategies and attitudes in order to deal with others. Because your emerged spiritual awareness, your spiritual nature will guide and provide the correct approach. I think it's interesting that we all talk about love. And it's a kind of the buzzword within the spiritual world, within all worlds and all religions, isn't it? Love is the primal mover, the primal experience that seems to be the basis of all teachings. And it's quite interesting that there's a great need for love, of course. But what breaks people's trust and love, what divides us, I think, is dishonesty. And being real is about being honest. And it is this honesty that develops love. So the basis of love, I feel, is honesty. Being real and honest is what draws the love of others and also the love of God. Um, I think to avoid this aspect of this topic of reality and being real and talking in terms of theoretical positions, and to stop it just remaining, just a theoretical concept, a philosophical position, we have to keep asking ourselves. I think I have to keep asking ourselves, the question: Who am I? Who am I? We have to keep asking this. And what happens, I think, this enables us to distance ourselves, to separate ourselves from our part, and its circumstances and its interactions. And as a result, we can then move into silence. We can let go of that kind of the clawing pull of the web of material consciousness, the gravitational pull that holds us bound, trapped within this sphere. We can break free of this. And this silence then allows us to understand and to see what we are, that we're not the part. We're not the part we're playing. Yes, the part is real, but it's not an aspect of our own personal reality. It's completely separate. We're talking about reality, isn't it? That often I've heard, the accusation sometimes, that we're talking about meditation. And some might say, meditation is also is unreal. It's just imagination. You might have had that, you might have discussed that or heard that within conversations. That it's just your imagination. But I think with all things, we can criticize, we can reject it simply from this kind of guesswork philosophy, these kind of statements which are easy to throw out. But my response would be, in a way, that we need to try it. Okay, try it. Experiment with the concept of spirituality, with this concept of your own spiritual nature, concept of your own subtlety. Let go, step into silence. Allow that experience to integrate into your awareness, into your consciousness. And then come to a decision, then come to it, sort of synthesize the experience. Like we need to taste the liquid to see if it's wine or is it just water, in that way. I think that's the only way, even for ourselves, not to accept things blindly and blandly, that like a talk like here, I don't accept anything, but actually to experiment with things, to try it out and test it, but not be passive in a sense of just accepting things, because I think that's been the path that we've trodden for a long time, of just acceptance, being told and just going with it, blindly going with it, but just being observers and just accepting the the methodology that's suggested, but not really experiencing anything. That I think spirituality is about 3 steps. To experience that reality it's about acceptance. Yeah, it's about me synthesizing, accepting, experiencing, trying to make sense of it, and say, okay, I can go with that, and then allowing the experience, allowing yourself to go into it, to try to allow it to suffuse myself, just to feel it, to allow the the concept that's being discussed, the concept that's being shared, to uh, in a way merge into ourselves. And then thirdly, it's about experiencing it, being it. Just allow yourself to be it. To, if you can, it's like letting go of the questioning mind, letting go of the analytical mind, the intellectual mind, and just allow the concept, whether it's God or soul or consciousness or some other point of spiritual truth, and just allow that to just be with you. Just hold it. Just hold it and be it. If, for example, you could use it with the concept of, say, for example, peace, which is we would accept is a concept of reality for all of us, that we desire peace and we want to experience it. So we want to just experience that. So it's like we can say, I am peace. So it's acknowledging, I am peace. We hold him. And then I experience that peace. And now I become that peace. So we allow these 3 stages of consciousness to create that reality, that truth, so we can become that. And this connects with our natural nature, the innate qualities of the self. And so it triggers within us a memory, an awakening, like we've been asleep, the spiritual amnesia that settled over most. We've forgotten ourselves, we've forgotten others, we've forgotten the spiritual laws, we've forgotten God, we've forgotten most things. And so we blindly follow anything that moves, that has a shiny surface, that claims to give something. And at the moment, the things that claiming to give something are from the material world, claiming to give you peace, happiness, to give you so many different things. I mean, I had to laugh the other day when I saw an advert, and it said, well, if you sort out your cremation details, get your cremation sorted, you'll be really happy. And this person saying, I've sorted and I'm really happy. I'm content. It's kind of quite laughable in a way, isn't it? That this is the level that we've kind of reached at this particular moment. So that reality and experience is coming from within ourselves. And so we're just allowing ourselves to step into our inner world, into the world of silence, and allow the separation of ourself from the illusory world of form, the illusory world of complication, the illusory world of lots of different tsunamis of effects that are swirling around us, that pull us into their kind of wake, and we get tossed and turned, and we get overwhelmed by their effect. We get affected by that, and it causes us to kind of become kind of confused, become lost in that kind of complexity of confusion, and then we lose connection with our truth, and then we desperately try to grab onto something to kind of keep ourselves above the surface, or what we believe is to be the surface. And we hold on to anything. We hold on to others. We hold on to possessions. We hold on to prestige. We hold on to all these kind of supports, but they're also within the vortex. within the confusions of as our boat travels the surface of the world. I'm just reminded of a little story. I think we've got time, isn't it? And it's a very famous story, and it was a ship sailing through the ocean, and it came upon a hurricane, and there was no way that the ship could outrun the hurricane, and it was a huge thing. And what the captain did was he sailed his ship into the hurricane, to the center of the hurricane, because because in the center of the hurricane an area of calmness. Apparently, I've never been there myself, but I'm beginning to believe the story. And there's a position of calmness. So he went into this position of calmness, and he traveled with the hurricane. All around him was the storm, the vortex, spinning incredible winds and waves, and it was like mayhem. But the captain traveled with it in that safety of that center of calmness and stillness. And he traveled with it, traveling with it until he came near to a nearby port. And it was nearby, and he just popped out quickly to the safety of the haven of the port and survived that. So, in a way, I think this is what meditation is offering, this center of calmness within the storm of life, within the vortex that's swirling around us, that we can find that center, that point of reality where we can be in that sense of oneness. We can see that sense of safety within ourselves and deal with our own life. We can deal with things around us as much as we can. This is a challenge, of course, in a storm, that others are also within the vortex. And this is the great challenge in a way, the great difficulty is because the minute you move out from that center, you get caught again in things. And so again, this is the challenge as spiritual, aware people, that not to be pulled into things, to be detached, not to hold on to things, because you'll get turned over, you'll get swamped, you'll get spun around, you'll get infected, influenced by the circumstances that the world's going through, that our friends are going through. So we have to kind of deal with it in that particular way, to stay within that center of calmness, that stillness, that reality of our own self. I think the connection with the Supreme helps us to maintain that kind of position. I don't think, personally, I don't think we have the strength ourselves to stay there within ourselves. The forces of influence are too strong. I think they're too strong, too violent, too powerful. We can have awareness, we can have good intention, but we need the support and help of God's great energy, that vortex of energy, that point of stillness that will hold us. And then we could hold on to that and maintain our position of awareness, our position of understanding. And at the same time, in that position, we can then help through our thinking, our awareness, because the power of thought, I feel we don't really need to interact too much physically now with others. That my example of the entanglement, the spiritual entanglement, that our thinking can do as much good, much help. We can do as much for others through our thoughts. We can send that energy of good wishes and pure feelings to outreach, to help souls on a different level, on a deeper level, to empower them, to help them through their journey. So spirituality is really working from the center of stillness, from this position of power, from this position of self-respect, as from a position of unity, this oneness with God, oneness with ourselves, and oneness with God. So I think I'll stop there. And
Thank you. Would you take us into a meditation? We've got time for a
Yeah,
slightly longer one if you would like.
yeah, okay. All right, this is a reflection on being real. And it's a meditation, a reflection that's re-educating. I think all meditation is about reanimating, re-educating our own self-awareness, because we're talking to ourselves, aren't we? When we meditate, we're reviving our consciousness, we're reviving our, um, our kind of slumbering memory, which awakens occasionally. It's like the third eye. The third eye is the eye of understanding, and it flickers, it opens and closes. So all the time we have to keep reminding ourselves, I mentioned, we have to keep asking, who am I? Who am I? It's keep waking ourselves up. This is the alarm clock that we need to keep awakening ourselves. At the moment we step away from that awareness, we start to fall asleep again. And so we have to keep talking to ourselves in our meditations. Meditation is not a passive state where we sit in a stillness, stay in just one focus. Yeah, it is that as well, I think, but it's about spiritually talking and reminding ourselves of who we are, who others are, what are the spiritual laws and God. So this is a reflection to help us being real. I like myself best when I'm honest and true to my own feelings. When I stand up and say with love what I think. I like myself best when I confront an issue, yet don't take issue. When I support others who have stood their ground to share their thoughts. I like myself best when I appreciate another's point of view, even though we may disagree. I like myself best when I let go of my pretensions and my false and artificial forms that smile and nod yet mean the opposite. I like myself best when I hold no criticism and make no personal comment. I like myself best when I see the qualities of others, when I see their virtue and their zest and enthusiasm. I like myself best when I don't interfere with another's role, when I see and understand and I empathize and realize that they, like me, need space, need room to grow, need others to appreciate their effort. I like myself best when I'm not swayed by public opinion, when I hold my position, my belief, when I'm not afraid to share it, and then let it go. I like myself best when I think on what's true and real, and hold that close to my heart and use that in my life. And now I just let go of thoughts and go into the subtle world of silence to connect with my subtle light form, my body of light. And in my body of light, I connect with the great light, the light of the Supreme. And there is a fusion, a huge coming together of light. My light connects with the great light of God. There is nothing but light. I'm surrounded by light. From this world of light, I now can send this light to the surrounding worlds, to the worlds of nature, to the natural worlds of the animal kingdom, so much abused, so much neglected. I send this light to the turbulent worlds that are now full of pain and sorrow and war, where souls, my brothers, call out for peace and light and love. And I send them this light. I send them this love from the world of light to touch their hearts, to touch their truth, to touch their lives. I just hold this for a moment. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a couple of questions come in. If I may start with the first one. The person is asking, I feel being authentic makes me feel isolate, makes me feel that I need to isolate myself to become more authentic and be myself. Without thinking, oh, this person's English is slightly off. I, without thinking, try to value myself from what others think and say about me. How can I change my behavior?
Yeah, good question. I think it's not so much about, we use these terms like isolation, but it's actually about understanding, that it's about, first of all, integrating with yourself. It's about, first of all, connecting with your truth, connecting with your own being, connecting with your own spirituality, connecting. And this, what happens is that when you do this, this actually opens you up, your dormant, overwhelmed, hidden nature of love and acceptance and and unique spirituality. And this enables us to then see others in a different light. Then you see them with love, you see them with understanding, and so actually we come closer to others. But what happens is that because we're having that awareness, there isn't rejection, there isn't a feeling that they're separate, but we feel that we can help them. And so spirituality is about understanding and seeing others with a different vision, a different viewpoint, understanding what's happening around them. And so it's first of all, it is about separation, but it's about an internal separation inside yourself, disengaging from, say, the false philosophies or false belief systems that they've been foisted on us from parents, from school, from education, and so on, that you feel that's not working for you. And it's actually connecting with your true religion, your true spirituality of your own self. And this gives you the power and the ability to then live in the world, but not become influenced by the world. I don't know if that answers your question.
Hmm. Interesting, because it leads into a comment somebody else has made that uh, kind of grows on that. So you may have some light, further light to share on it. They're saying, hello, Jim. I am following the talk and thank you for your talk, your perspective. The subject matter is very complex. However, I find it difficult to understand spirit being anything other than pure and cannot be influenced by the outside world. It may be that we disconnect from spirit and then exist by ego. That brings a false self. Maybe? Do you have anything to share on that?
Well, I agree with you. You're right. It's what's happened is that we're just, like I mentioned, it's like we've forgotten who we are. Simply as that. We've gradually, what's happening over time, our spiritual power, you could call it, our qualities, has diminished, like through entropy. And so what's happened is that the material world has grown in strength and power, and it's become very powerful and very strong. And it's developed a kind of sense of influence and attraction that has drawn us into itself. And we've been pulled away from our own center of stillness and beauty and qualities, and we begin to associate with form, with the processes and the the formulations of the physical world, and we've then lost ourselves within that. We've forgotten who we are, very simply, and it's like our original qualities have then dropped below the surface of awareness, and we've forgotten them basically, and we've replaced them or have allowed them to be superseded by artificial behavioral qualities. You're a man, you're a woman, you're clever, you're better, you're good, all these things that we've heard from outside, which I would call kind of false philosophies or false understandings. But we've accepted that. Like my story of the eagle. We've accepted what we've been told, and we've associated with that, and we've completely forgotten our innate nature.
Okay. Next question is also on ego. Um, can you explain more about when the ego world, that's the laws from today's society or religions, is going to fall down by the new era, new spiritual era? What king of being do we need?
Well, I think that immediately you accept yourself as a spiritual being, that you immediately you relinquish the sovereignty of the false ego, and you become the ruler of yourself. That's the kingdom of truth. You move into the kingdom of truth, and then the old kingdom will then diminish for you, around you, and you will then move into that kingdom of light, of truth, of spirituality, of spiritual qualities, and then that will then manifest through you into the world and influence others and so on.
Okay, next question, because they're coming in thick and fast now. Um, if you are in the middle of a storm, how do you navigate it to calmness in the center?
Yeah, it's a good question. All these are good questions, aren't they? That, and these are all kind of integral to what spirituality is. That if you're in a storm, that is, I just reminded of a story that the Bedouin Arabs, when they were in the deserts, when they were in a storm in the desert, what they would do is not fight the storm. They would just stop. They would lie down and cover themselves until the storm had passed. And so, in a way, it's like we have to kind of like stop. The storm around you, you may be going through a personal storm that's created by some kind of interaction, something within yourself or within your relationships. And it's like stopping is like going into silence, going into your inner world and just allowing the circumstances to pass by, not to react, not to fight it. You can't. It's just, you'll get sucked into it. It's too big, too strong. We're not strong enough yet. And it's just allow it to pass by. And then by holding on to your own truth, that inner world, the thing will pass, it will kind of subside, and then you can then carry on. But all the time aware that other storms are coming, other things are happening, other influences. And what spirituality is allowing us to do is taking us beyond. That silence is this step beyond. As we go into silence, we go beyond the lower dimensional fields of matter, where where the vortex is happening. The vortex is below. The turmoil, the turbulence, the influences are massive, absolutely massive. And people are just being directed, dictated by all the phenomena that's happening today. It's a topic within itself, and we all aware of it. And we know what's happening, but once we know what's happening, but we know we need to know how to deal with it. And this question is great because the minute there's something's happening, just go into silence, go inside, and the minute you're away from it, you've created an energy field around yourself. You've created a force field of spiritual qualities. And connecting with God, you strengthen that. That light becomes so strong that the outside energies, influences, either directed or just that are just within your orbit, you're protected. And just maintaining that, you then can then live within that the aspects of that turbulence. But not only that, the stronger and the more you meditate, the more you can then change the darkness around you. You know, your light increases. The darkness is really illusory. It has no strength really. It's just because its only strength is because we're weak. And so meditation is just making us aware, stronger. We connect with our own reality. When we're talking about reality, we become authentic. We abandon the philosophies of the illusory world. You know, it's good to think about how much have you taken on board? How much are you living by the philosophies of illusion, the belief systems, you know, which says buy, accumulate, do this, do that, all these things. You know in yourself that they're kind of not right. But how much do we still, we understand it, but we haven't got the power to pull away from it to create an alternative state. And so meditation gives us that strength, gives us that ability to withstand that pull, you know, the gravitational pull that's sucking us into it. We can stand outside it and then maintain our stability and our strength in the light of the storm that's around us.
Thank you. Now to go off on another angle, if you don't mind. How can we help develop self-awareness for kids and teenagers to make their life journey more authentic? Um, a life without being influenced too much by society and mass media messages?
Yeah, that's another great question, isn't it? I was talking about this with my brother, actually. He was a teacher, and we were talking about how much children are being influenced incredibly by the influences of our world. And I think of the state of the world today that many souls, even though we see them in small bodies, these are souls that have been traveling through time. They've been traveling through many experiences. And so many of them have very strong uh, habitual natures. These are souls that were in other relationships and other forms before. And so their soul is containing the residue, the resonances of past experiences and past hurts. And so they're reactive, they're angry, they're depressed, they're weak, and so on. And this is why we see now it's coming to the fore within children. And it's very difficult when when a little body or even an older body is having that, to try and get in is very difficult because the doors are shut. And also the mind is not open and mature enough to understand concepts. It's still not formulated enough to grasp any kind of reality yet, or any kind of philosophical kind of reasoning, that simple understanding. And I think the best way we can help children, young bodies, is through vibrations, is through good wishes and pure feelings, to emerge them, to surround them, to bring them into your meditation and surround them with vibrational energy. And this then will help them approach their lives in the best way forward, help them move forward, help them overcome the hurdles that they're having. And it will then also give energy to their parents and their carers, who may be abusing them, who may be misguiding them, who may be giving them wrong advice, helping their parents to help them move on a path of positivity. And so at this time, I think really for us, from my position, is to really now work with vibrations, good wishes, powerful thoughts. Send that energy, that you send them out to children, especially maybe some of your meditations, you could direct it towards children, towards young people. And we can see a lot of violence is happening now, isn't it? That a random violence. They don't know. They say there was a stabbing the other day, wasn't there? Some girl went and stabbed some woman to death. They don't know why they did it, because of influences that influences their consciousness, which has no ability to withstand the influence, and they become overtaken by the influence, and it directs them to do this, and they don't know why. And this is why we see now children going through so much difficulty, so much hell. It's not a pleasant experience for many children at the moment, being a child. I think it's a time of settlement of karma. It's a time of moving forward, settlement and creation for all of us at this time. We're settling, we're creating. And so it's like having this understanding, not to be upset by this. I think, when we see, it can be upsetting, can't it? When we see children being abused, hurt, killed. But I think it's just to stand back. Meditation helps us stand back and be the observer. It's a play. It's just a play, and understand it. But give vibrations to help the souls through that scenario in that way.
Thank you. That was very compassionate. Um, Next question is also on influence. Have you got another 5 minutes? I know we've hit our 7:30, but I've got a couple of more questions.
Sure.
Excellent. I believe we are very much influenced by the environment. And if another person doesn't accept my peaceful nature, I then experience judgmental feelings that this is not right. How do I deal with that?
Could you just answer that? I was just recharging my battery was going low. So could you just
Okay.
give the essence? I got a bit of that, so I do
So
apologize.
basically, no, not at all. Basically, how when we're not our peaceful nature isn't accepted, our reaction to that is that we have judgmental feelings that this is not right. How do we deal with our response?
Yeah, that's a question for us all, isn't it, that one? And I think in a way we have to kind of, it'll come, and it does come. And when you feel that it's your ego really that's actually reacting there, isn't it? It's our that we're not being respected, we're that they're not noticing us, and so it's the old ego. And to recognize it, it's the ego that's actually um, not being acknowledged, not being accepted, and to recognize that, and that we can step away from it and understand that the situation, the drama is correct. What's happening is correct, and to let it go, and not to, it doesn't matter. You know, maybe the person or the situation that is they're doing and saying things from the best intention, and so maybe we learn to understand. Let me take the benefit. What can I learn from this? What is it teaching me? Uh, what's the truth behind it? What's hidden within it? There's always something beneficial hidden within something, that I'm wanting something and it's not happening. Some planning, some there's a rejection. Well, okay, because in fact, the thing that I'm looking at or trying to achieve or wanting to happen is actually I'm I'm probably anticipating something, or I'm misunderstanding the scenario, and I'm misunderstanding the intentions of others. So it's just standing back and just accepting the circumstance without reaction, without just with understanding, and allowing then a reformulation of circumstances to happen. Generally, we dive in, don't we? We dive in, and good things, and we make things worse. It becomes more complicated, and it becomes embroiled, and it can create lasting effects. But just step back. Okay, that's right. It's not what I wanted. These are not nice or whatever. Just let it go. And then what happens is your ego is not affected. Just go back and just bring it into your silence. And I think then the circumstances will change. You'll change. But it's a very interesting dilemma, that.
Okay, and I want to end with this question because I think it's one that you have a lot of insight in. Silence can be deafening and frightening. What practical tools can you suggest to make the silence less formidable?
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? It's because in fact your silence is it's really it's a body conscious silence. It's actually you're it's a silence. If you're having those feelings, it's actually you're just stepping into another room of the same house. That just say that you haven't moved away from where you're trying to experience. It's just another room. You're trying to shut it down, but it doesn't work because you can still hear the music, and you can still hear the music in the other room. In a way, if that can understand that kind of an analogy. But what we need to do is actually go go into a deep, subtle soul conscious silence, which is connected with ourself. Then there isn't that feeling of emptiness. There isn't that feeling of uh, other influences, other resonances. Because if you stay within your physical world, people might go, for example, you might go for a walk in the park, or you might walk along the seashore, and you think that's silence. But what's happening is it's just you're just displacing the scenario, your physical situation, but still the thoughts are still there. And when you talk about deafening silence, it's the silence of old thinking. The silence of the resonances of past experiences are still there. They're still banging on the door within your own kind of consciousness. You really have to go beyond. And so you have to go into that soul conscious spiritual silence, that will give you that immunity, that will give you that protection, will give you that um, empowerment that you need. You need now empowerment at this time. You know, going to physical, people go to Dubai, they go to Australia, they go to the Seychelles. You know, all about is escaping from this deafening silence. Trying to create that they think by changing the scenario, they'll change the experience. It doesn't. Actually sometimes it increases. You know, this definitely it increases because you go into a state where you haven't got the familiar scenarios that divert your mind from your problems, your issues, your anxieties. But the only way you can change that is going into your inner world, to go into the subtle world, to go into the divine world, the subtle or supreme world, supreme region. This then is a world of light, new feelings, brightness, light, power, love, understanding. So nothing can come into that. It's a world of music. It's a world of musical beauty within your world. And you'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy that and empower it, and you can share that with others.
Jim, thank you so, so much. There's been so many thank yous that have already started coming in, but it's been a real pleasure having you join us.
I hope I'm
Um,
chatting. I hope I'm done too much.
no, no, it's been fantastic, really, truly. And we look forward to actually knocking on your door in person one day, coming down to Plymouth and as a
Very
team.
welcome.
Thank you, thank you. So we're inviting ourselves on that level. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Do you know where I am now? You can go and see me in the subtle world. I'm there. We can all meet together. All of us, all listening here, we can all let's go there now into this world of light. We're all there in this world, in this beautiful landscape of light and beauty and spirituality.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.